Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Lauren and today we're going to be discussing funeral etiquette. The reason that I'm going to be discussing this with you today is because I unfortunately had to attend a funeral a couple of weeks ago, and it reminded me the importance of having certain elements ready to go in your wardrobe so that you are prepared. I also want to open the discussion about funeral etiquette. What is appropriate to wear? What is not? I think it's important to open these discussions and have them just so that you know kind of what to expect if you are in that situation anywhere in the near time future. Before we jump into the discussion, I just quickly wanted to welcome you to Closet Ecology. This channel is all about helping you build a practical and sustainable wardrobe. So if that sounds interesting to you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. I will be turning 32 in January, and I am entering the stage in my life where I'm going to be attending more funerals than I will weddings. But also, I have realized that there were a couple of holes in my wardrobe that I didn't take the time to intentionally fill, and that kind of put me in an awkward position when it came to having to unexpectedly attend this funeral. The pieces that I had in my wardrobe that I ended up wearing to the funeral were this Eileen Fisher jumpsuit and this vintage St. John blazer. The Eileen Fisher jumpsuit is probably one of the best, most versatile pieces in my wardrobe. I absolutely love it. It is so incredibly easy to dress up or dress down. I picked up this jumpsuit secondhand actually, but it was secondhand new with tags, so it was new to me. I believe that this jumpsuit retailed for around $300 some, and I actually ended up cashing in some credits I had at this consignment store, so it was completely free to me. So that was awesome. But having something like a jumpsuit, a plain black piece of something like a dress, a jumpsuit, a great pair of black slacks, something like that would be great to have on hand, not just for funerals, but just in terms of having something ready for you to gravitate towards if you are, needing to attend something a little more dressed up, a little more formal. Especially when it comes to layering, the more pieces that you wear that are monochromatic, especially with black, it just looks so elevated and dressed up. Another reason I wore this jumpsuit is because I had to go out to the funeral and literally come around and turn and come home, and it was about a 9-hour drive there and back. So I needed to be able to quickly get changed and ready to hit the road again. And so what I ended up doing was just switching out my blazer for a basic utility jacket that I had and threw on some Birkenstocks. I was able to quickly turn this very dressed up, polished look into something very casual and comfortable for the ride home. Even though I was able to piece those items together, I was still unprepared. So the blazer that I have, this was actually something that came from my reselling days. If you've not seen my videos on that content, I am no longer a reseller. That was a piece that was left over that I actually purchased to resell. I ended up keeping it because it fits so fantastically well. And honestly, like if you are somebody who struggles finding blazers that fit you well, and that would include myself. And the reason for that is I have very narrow shoulders and I have quite large upper arms. It's just how I am built, and most blazers just don't fit that. Because St. John, if you're not familiar with St. John, the material that they're most known for is called their Santana knit. It is a very thick knit that is made out of wool and a couple other fibers, but they make amazingly gorgeous, very, very beautiful, well-made blazers. I was fortunate to be able to find this blazer for like 20 bucks or something. This thing probably retailed for $1,500 to $2,000, which is kind of insane. It's a piece that I will have literally for the rest of my life. It's also a piece that I can continue to have tailored. So that was part of the problem that I ran into. Generally speaking, like if you are attending something like a wedding, you have a little bit of time to prepare, but a funeral, not so much. Usually you are given as little as a day notice. I had been putting off finding a tailor local to me, and that is something that I think everybody should take away from this video, is to establish a relationship with a good tailor, because you never know when you might need to alter something or have something repaired, and it's just good to keep up on that stuff. So this blazer, because it was vintage, had some pretty serious shoulder pads. So I wanted to have those removed and then have the shoulders taken in a little bit, but I didn't have time to do that. So I took out the shoulder pads myself. And while it didn't look terrible on, you could definitely see that a little bit of the puffing on the shoulders. And again, like I said, it's not that big of a deal, but I really would have much preferred to have that completely tailored and ready to go. So the lesson that I'm learning from that is that I need to get off the dime and find myself a great tailor to take care of that for me, so I do not run into that problem ever again. The other problem I ran into was not having appropriate shoes for this funeral. My look is, while I would say polished, it is definitely more casual. I have sneakers, I have more casual looking flats, like I have driving loafers, things like that. I don't have anything super dressy. Part of the reason I don't is because it's really difficult for me to find a good pair of dressy shoes that are actually comfortable and something that I would actually want to wear. But I was hoping to eventually, and put it on the back burner, find a good pair of block heels that I could wear to pretty much any occasion. I was looking into something maybe like from Stuart Weitzman, but also just a little bit lower than that. I really do like Mark Fisher's shoes. Those are a great alternative if you're looking for a designer kind of look, but you want something that is a little bit lower in price point, but doesn't sacrifice quality. I really, really love Mark Fisher shoes. You can find them a lot at Nordstrom or Nordstrom Rack if that's a place that you shop. So because I was on a time crunch, I kind of had to make do with what I was able to find. And on top of that, there were also a couple other things that I was battling against when trying to find these shoes. The first one being, and probably the most obvious, and that a lot of us are dealing with right now, is stock issues, just production and stock issues. It is so difficult to find just things that we have grown so accustomed to being able to purchase. And that's definitely a first world problem, but in this instance that was super frustrating to me to not even be able to find hardly anything even in my size. And then the other issue I was running into is that this happened to fall on the same weekend, or the last weekend before homecoming for many of the high schools in my area. So finding any type of dressy footwear was incredibly difficult. For what was left, there was barely anything, left over. And then on top of that, I am, I've mentioned this before, but I have very, very picky feet. I wear a lot of comfort shoes, shoes that are good for my feet. Like I love Bionic, I love Birkenstocks, and just any other brands just that I wear have to be just made super, super well with great support. Otherwise, I just cannot wear them. So what I ended up settling on are these shoes right here. So this is just an Antonio Milani shoe. I purchased this at Dillard's. So there's a couple reasons why I settled on this shoe. Because it was closed toe, it was black. The thing about this shoe is that it is super, super on trend right now. And while that's not necessarily a bad thing, when it comes to like a dressy shoe, because it's not something that I'm wearing all the time, I really would have much preferred something that was not so trendy, something that I could wear for years and years and years. And this is not that shoe. I believe that these were $120. And while that's not the most expensive shoe out there, definitely not, the issue is that it's so trendy and it has a shelf life. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to incorporate this in my wardrobe for the remaining season and really try to get a ton of wear out of it, because this is not going to be like a classic pump that I could have for literally the next 10 years and just wear very sparingly. This is something that's going to be very quickly out of style. So I will enjoy it. I will get the wear out of it, but this is just a great reminder to you that you should have something ready and available to you if you are missing a great pair of dressy shoes, whatever that looks like for you. I would pick something closed toe, maybe a nude color or black color, something that you could really wear to any special occasion sort of situation. But even if it's something that you're planning on, because of the current issues with production, I would really highly recommend that you take a look at your wardrobe, see what elements are missing. If there are some serious holes in your wardrobe, make a conscious effort to get those put together, especially if it's going to be a situation where you are really going to be needing something kind of on the fly. So the final thing that I want to discuss today is funeral etiquette. So like I said before, times have really changed and our society as a whole has gotten way more casual, especially post you know what. And that's okay. I am definitely not somebody who's going to sit here and pick apart that, because my look also has gotten quite a bit more casual. But I will say that I feel like there are some times in our lives, occasions that we're going to be presented to us or faced with, that we really should be conscious about what we're wearing, how we're presenting ourselves, and just out of respect to whoever is hosting the event, what the event is for. So I felt like the outfit that I wore was very polished, very put together, very appropriate. I didn't necessarily have to wear all black, because all black for a funeral is not a requirement anymore. It is not something that you have to do, but I think it's a great fallback. Items of clothing that I would consider to not be appropriate would be denim, open-toe shoes and sandals, casual tops like t-shirts and things like that. Basically anything that you would wear just on a casual weekend. There are times and places where that is completely appropriate. I really don't think that a funeral is an appropriate situation for you to be wearing those items. Fashion rules do not really exist. There's just more guidelines and things that you should probably pay attention to or maybe follow in certain circumstances. But now let's say that this funeral was for somebody who loved flip-flops, somebody who always wore flip-flops, and to honor her, everybody wore flip-flops at the funeral. That would be a scenario where that would be appropriate. But I wouldn't say that you should be wearing flip-flops to a funeral. I don't really think that that is necessarily appropriate for the majority of the time. Thank you so much for joining me today. Let me know down in the comments if you have ever been caught off guard with a special occasion and what steps you took to get that remedied and to get ready for that special occasion. I'm also curious to know what your thoughts are on funeral etiquette, and if you agree with me or if you don't agree with me. I find that it is something, again, like I said, is very, open to discussion. This is not something that is a hard, fast rule, and it's something that we should be talking about because of the times changing and because of situations where, formal events are not as formal as they used to be. Until next time, I'll see you in my next video. Bye!